Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a loop? Like you try to make a big change in your life, but you keep getting pulled right back into the same old habits? It's so frustrating, right? It feels like you're wrestling with some invisible force. Well, it turns out that force isn't invisible at all. It's actually biological. So let's get into the science of what's really holding us back, and more importantly, how we can finally break free.
So let's start with this question. Why does real, genuine change feel so, well, uncomfortable? Why is it so hard to step out of what's familiar, even if that familiar thing is actually causing us pain? We've all been there, feeling that gravitational pull back to what we know, even when we know it's not serving us. The answer, it turns out, is deep in our biology.
And this right here is the absolute core of it. For years, you've been thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same feelings, and doing the same things. Your body has literally memorized your emotional state. It's become so conditioned that it's basically running the show now. So when you make a conscious choice to change, your body goes into protest mode. It would actually rather feel that familiar guilt or that familiar anxiety because at least it knows what to expect. To the body, the unknown future is just plain terrifying.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Reinventing yourself isn't about some one-time grand gesture. No, it's about the small moments. It's that moment when you wake up and you consciously decide not to think that same self-critical thought. It's about making a different choice in that one moment, and then the next, and the next. That's the real battleground.
Okay, so how does this conditioning actually work on a biological level? Let's peel back the layers and look at the science of what's happening inside our own brains and bodies. It all comes down to this really powerful and often vicious cycle called the thought-feeling loop. Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. Every single thought you have, and I mean every single one, triggers your brain to produce a chemical. So if you have a joyful thought, your brain releases chemicals that make you feel joy. If you have a negative thought, it releases chemicals that make you feel, well, negative. Your thoughts aren't just these invisible, abstract things. They literally become physical matter, little chemical messengers that travel throughout your body, telling it exactly how to feel.
And here's where we get trapped. You think a thought, which creates a chemical, which creates a feeling. But then your brain, which is always monitoring how your body is feeling, notices this, and it says, oh, we're feeling insecure. And what does it do? It generates more thoughts that match that feeling of insecurity. So you end up feeling the way you think, which then makes you think the way you feel, and around you go. It's a biological feedback loop.
And when this loop runs over and over again for years, it creates what's called a state of being. You don't just have insecure thoughts anymore. You are in a state of insecurity. Your body has become so used to the chemicals of that state that it's now your default setting. It's your personality. It's an unconscious program that's running 95% of your day.
Okay, so that's the problem. We are literally biologically hooked on our past. But here's the good news. We can break that wiring. We absolutely can. So let's talk about the solution. Let's talk about how to consciously move from being a living record of the past to being the creator of your future.
The very first step, and honestly the most important, is just awareness. It's about learning to become the observer of your thoughts. You have to step out of that automatic program and just watch your mind. The goal isn't to stop the thoughts or fight them. It's just to notice them, to go, oh, hey, there's that thought again, the one that says I'm not good enough. And by just noticing it without reacting, you start to snip the wire. You don't let it trigger that automatic chemical reaction. That's how you begin to break the loop. This chart really lays out the transformation we're talking about. Look at the old self. That's when the body is the mind, completely running on past programming. It's predictable, familiar, and hardwired. But the new self? That's when you put your conscious mind back in the driver's seat. It's about using your mind as a map to a new future, intentionally rewiring your brain to create a life that's unknown and full of new possibilities. So, how do we actually build those new pathways? How do we go from just being aware of the old self to actively building the new one? Well, this is where a powerful technique called mental rehearsal comes in. You're literally going to install the neurological hardware for your future before it even happens.
Now, this is the scientific principle that makes this whole thing possible. It's a game changer. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between something you're actually experiencing in the real world and something you are vividly imagining in your mind. If you are truly present and you mentally rehearse something with focus, your brain fires the exact same circuits as if you were physically doing it. This means you can give your brain and your body a taste of the future right now. So here's how you do it step by step. First, you have to decide. Get crystal clear. How would this new version of you think, feel, act? Then you rehearse. You close your eyes and you mentally practice being that person. You walk through your day as them. You feel the feelings of abundance, of confidence, of joy. By doing this over and over, you are installing new neural pathways, basically priming your brain for that future. And eventually, this new way of thinking and being goes from a conscious effort to your new unconscious automatic program. All right, now let's zoom out a little, because this whole process of changing your internal world, it does way more than just make you feel better. It has huge implications for your external reality. This is where we shift from the old model of cause and effect to a new model, causing an effect. It's about moving from being a victim of your circumstances to being the creator of your life. I want you to think of yourself like a radio tower, sending a signal out into the universe. If your signal is incoherent, meaning your thoughts are saying, I want success, but your body is feeling unworthy, that signal is all garbled and staticky. You get inconsistent or even no results. But when your thoughts and your feelings are aligned, when your mind and body are on the same page, you send out a powerful, clear, coherent signal. That signal is an electromagnetic signature that draws new experiences to you.
This is such a perfect way to put it. Thoughts are the language of your brain. Feelings are the language of your body. To create a new reality, you have to get them speaking the same language, in unison. You need the clear intention, the thought from your brain, and you need the elevated emotion, the feeling from your body. When those two are in sync, you create an entirely new state of being.
So this is the big paradigm shift we're talking about. Most of us are raised to live in the Newtonian model, right? Cause and effect. We're waiting for something outside of us to change how we feel inside. When I get the promotion, then I'll feel successful. The quantum model flips that completely on its head. It's about causing an effect. You change your internal environment first, you feel successful now, and then you watch as your external world begins to change to match that new internal state. So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's pretty simple, really. If you want to change your life, you have to change your energy. But here's the trickiest part for most of us. You have to let go of trying to control how it's all going to happen. You can't predict a new future from the limited perspective of your past. Your job is to set a clear intention, embody the emotion of that future, and then surrender. Trust that something amazing is on its way. And that brings us to the final and really the most important question of all, a question that only you can answer. So just take a moment and really let this sink in. If you truly, honestly broke the habit of being your old self, if you moved beyond the familiar thoughts and feelings that define you today, who would you become?